Hey, the film guy here. Some elements in the following video were inspired by the fantastic deep dive into character tactics that Stu and Chas did over at the Draft Zero podcast earlier this year. If you want a more in-depth look into the subject, then go check them out. A link is in the description.
Warning, we are going to say the word tactics a lot in this video. Billy Wilder once said, an actor entering through the door, you've got nothing. But if he enters through the window, you've got a situation. I believe a similar sentiment can be made about screenwriting. A writer creates a scene where two characters sit down and explain who they are to each other, then he has nothing. But if he creates a scene where two characters attempt to accomplish a task, and through that we learn about who they are via their tactics and reactions, he has depth. The way a screenwriter introduces us to the main characters can often be one of the most overlooked and underappreciated aspects of a film. A strong screenplay will often use the introduction of a character to set up their strongest traits and dynamics, not through an explanation of themselves, but through the tactics they use approaching a situation. The concept of tactics in screenwriting is best described as the methods a character uses to accomplish their goal. A good example of this is the old Roadrunner cartoons. The coyote uses a contraption to try and catch the Roadrunner, but like every episode beforehand, he fails. If this was the end of the story, that would be a little boring as there isn't much drama. But like with any good villain, their goal has turned into an obsession, and that's where their story has become more interesting and frankly, more entertaining. The coyote will implement new tactics, usually each one more elaborate and dangerous than the last. He continues this process over and over until he accomplishes his goal. He may never get it, but it's not the achievement of the goal that entertains us, it's the process of trying to achieve it. Tactics are most commonly heard in reference to interrogation scenes, where, for example, a detective will try and use different tactics to gain new information from a suspect. Like which, in any scene, tactics can and should be used to provide new information to the audience, as when analysed, they can reveal the nature of a well-written character, especially when compared to another character trying to accomplish the same goal. To see how this is done practically, let's take a look at 2016's Hell or High Water, written by Taylor Sheridan. Bear in mind that there are some differences in the script versus the final film. This could be due to the director's interpretation of the script, scenes cut down in the editing room, actors changing and improvising lines, or all of the above. But since this video is more about screenwriting than it is the direction of the script, just think of the visuals as an example, not as a direct interpretation. If you would like to read the full version, which is always a good idea, I'll put a link in the description. Anyway, let's start off with the first heist. Elsie waddles past us to the entrance of the bank. She unlocks the door as she hefts it open. Elsie is pushed forward and falls to the floor of the bank with a thud. She moans, rolls to her side, and sees two men. Elsie.
What in the devil?
Rubber One, who we will refer to by name Toby, offering her a hand. Please stand up and take us to the cash drawers, ma'am. The very first thing Toby does after they push Elsie over is offer her his hand to help her up, which is very different from him just demanding to be taken to the cash drawers. From this, we see Toby's tactics are to be polite, respectful, and to make direct requests. Elsie, I will not. Toby kneels and points a revolver at her face. From this, we see Toby is capable of using fear as a tactic. Although I feel it's important to note that this wasn't his first response, and also the act of kneeling shows he is willing to at least come down to her level, showing her some kind of respect. Perhaps to say he isn't a violent guy, but he is willing to do what is necessary to accomplish his goal. Robber 2, who we will also refer to by his name Tanner.
We ain't asking.
She scrambles to her feet and is escorted behind the counter. Elsie, there's no money in the drawers yet. It's in the safe and I ain't got the key. Toby, prove it. She opens the drawers. Sure enough, they're empty. Toby, damn. Elsie?
Y'all are new at this, I'm guessing.
Tanner?
Where's the money?
Elsie?
I told you it's in the safe.
Tanner?
Well, who has the code?
Elsie?
Mr. Clausen, he'll be here soon, and I suggest you fellers don't be. All you're guilty of right now is being stupid. Just leave, and that's all it'll be.
Tanner spins her to face him, grabs her by the throat, his cold eyes stare deep into hers. Tanner, call me stupid again. This is how we see Tanner deal with failure. He uses the tactics of fear, intimidation, and violence to accomplish his goal. Toby steps up, puts a hand on Tanner's shoulder, easing him back, and steps between them. Toby, when does Mr. Clausen get here? Elsie.
8:30 every morning.
Toby just took control of the situation using the same tactic as before. He is respectful and asks direct questions. Seems the reason he took control is he saw Tanner losing control and doesn't want him to hurt her. Nevertheless, it has worked as Toby has secured a small victory forward in achieving their grand goal. Tanner grabs her by the arm and drags her around to the main foyer of the little bank and points his pistol at her head. Another important note is even though Toby has convinced Elsie to be cooperative, Tanner is using fear and violence towards her, showing us he doesn't seem to have any other tactics to work with. Let's skip forward to when the brothers are escaping the first heist. Tanner. Woo! He pounds the dash. Toby, you need to go a little easier on those tellers. Tanner, I go as easy on them as they go on me. Toby, slow down. He doesn't. In the distance, they see the throbbing lights of a sheriff's cruiser heading towards them. Toby, slow down. Tanner, I ain't speeding. The cruiser races towards them. Tanner drives without a care in the world. Toby is frozen to his seat, eyes tracking on the car as it approaches. The cruiser whips by. Toby looks in the side mirror, certain the vehicle is going to turn around. It doesn't. This entire interaction is about their reaction to their tactics. Toby is angry at Tanner for being so violent and is scared for the consequences of what they have just done. It's clear that even though it was his idea, he isn't really wanting to be doing it. While Tanner, if anything, is getting off on it. He doesn't care about getting caught or that he was violent because he is having fun. The same can be said about the scene following the second heist. The reverse happens. Tanner takes shots at Toby for being too soft and kind toward the people in the bank, telling him that his tactics are likely to get them killed. This essentially is the heart of who these characters are. Tanner is a rogue and impulsive, and Toby is inexperienced yet smart. He weighs his options before making decisions. It's the tactics they used that revealed this before any dialogue directly did. This is one of the things that separates a great script from a mediocre one. As Robert McKee wrote in his book, Dialogue, The Art of Verbal Action for Page, Stage, and Screen. All talk responds to a need, engages a purpose, and performs an action. Therefore, beneath every line of character talk, the writer must create a desire, intent, and action. That action then becomes the verbal tactic we call dialogue. This is what is meant when instructors say that you should be able to take a piece of dialogue from a script and guess who's saying it purely by what is written. A simpler way to put it is a character's distinct voice is heard by showing their inner motivations and personal character as the spine of everything they say and or do. This is something the director David Mackenzie might have understood to some degree, as unlike the script, they had Tanner be the one who points the gun at Elsie's face and drags her around the counter. He also smacked Mr. Clausen with his gun before he even demanded the money from him. This took the use of actual violence as a tactic almost completely away from Toby, thus keeping the character's use of tactics more true to who the story demanded they be. Understanding the use of tactics is a powerful tool in screenwriting. When writing a scene, before asking what a character would say, a better question is what tactics do they have and which of those are they prepared to use in an effort to achieve their goal, and then letting that fuel the dialogue of the scene. A further question, which is another faucet for storytelling, is what happens if none of a character's tactics work? How do they react? How do they evolve? Who do they turn to? This is basically the spine for the storytelling in the Breaking Bad spin-off show, Better Call Saul. Set 6 years before the start of Breaking Bad, where we knew Saul as a slimy, manipulative private defense attorney, we start off the new show seeing him before he became that man. He is now James McGill, a simple ex-con man who has started to turn his life around with aspirations of being a great lawyer like his big brother. While he has some minor success, his biggest victories come from when he has run out of honest and or legal tactics, and out of desperation, starts to use the previous tactics from his darker conman days to achieve his goals. The show often plays with the main character's struggle between accepting losses while staying righteous, or achieving victory by walking on a darker path, and the need to be successful is the poison that slowly turns James McGill into Saul Goodman. There is no real rules in screenwriting, only guidelines, but generally you will find a character's tactics must always change, or their refusal to change their tactics is the foundation of the story, and then the pressure for them to change their tactics will get stronger and stronger. Because Better Call Saul is a prequel series, we already know this man will fall from grace. It's only a matter of time. But that's the point of the show. As like a car crash, we can't look away. It's the running status of James McGill that creates momentum for conflict, and the tactics he uses in his success, failures, and overall transformation in battle of that conflict is what fuels his story and keeps us entertained. Anyways guys, what do you think of this new kind of video looking into screenwriting rather than directing? Let me know down below and let's have a conversation. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the alert button. If you want more videos like this one, then please check out the Patreon campaign. You can follow The Film Guy on Twitter @TheRealFilmGuy or myself @TESDrew.